welcome to another parkour commentary video. So, if you watched Techno's stream pretty recently, I think it's titled The First Meeting. It's about the first meeting of the Syndicate. You'll notice that he has recruited a couple new members into the Syndicate, which, it's far overdue. It really should have been done much earlier, but I guess the fact that it was done at all is pretty decent. I think Philza was just like, yeah, the room has been done for a long time. It's just Techno's been sleeping for a while, so he's had to keep like poking him with a stick or something to make sure he was still alive. Canonically, of course. I mean, I think in real life, Techno and Phil were just like scripting the whole thing. They got the build out of the way really fast, but figuring out the actual plot had to take a bit of extra time. But before I continue with the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more theory content like this. All it takes is a click and half a second, so if you can make that red button gray, I'd really appreciate it. Enjoy the video. So anyway, so they recruited the new members, Niki. That one was planned. Well, okay, all of this was planned, but like canonically, recruiting Niki I think was expected and planned because they actually went out on a whole thing. But Ranboo kind of overheard the conversation and managed to coerce him into joining the Syndicate as well. So the Syndicate has two new members, and together they went to investigate Snowchester. And what they found at Snowchester kind of horrified them because they were like, holy moly. I mean, this Tubbo guy, he was dying repeatedly because I think someone like spawn trapped him. And then he was finally saved by some other individual. Probably foolish because he was like the only other person on the server at that time. But someone spawn trapped him. He was dying repeatedly. They were making jokes about how capable he was, and then they show up at his nation, and he shows him the nuke. Techno nicknames the nuke god killer because the explosion is so massive. He jokes that you could probably use it to kill Dream XD, the one god on the server, which I think tells you a lot about how dangerous Tubbo's nation is. But I digress. So if we actually look at the Syndicate itself, there's some secrets to the Syndicate that I'd like to go over. When they first entered the Syndicate, there were like little code names on the backs of their chairs. I'm not entirely sure canonically why this is necessary besides just like being cool, because around the server everyone already knows who they are, and no one's supposed to be able to find their quote-unquote secret base anyway, so it seems a little unnecessary. But it's Techno, so I mean, what do you expect? He's gotta make it dramatic and stuff, so it is what it is, I suppose. But these names, I think they're an interesting point to theorize, if nothing else. They're not exactly canonically useful, but as theory fodder, they're pretty good. So currently there are 3 members of the Syndicate with nicknames. Eventually we'll probably get Niki's and Ranboo's nicknames, but right now there are 3. The first one being Technoblade, and his nickname is Protesilaus. So for those of you that don't know, Protesilaus was a Greek hero. He was named after the Greek word protos, I think. It means first in Greek, or I guess that's the rough meaning. That's probably one factor why Techno chose the name Protesilaus, because he was the first member of the Syndicate, the first real anarchist on the server. All that, like he was a lot of firsts, so I guess that's a factor. But if we actually look at why Protesilaus was named like the first, it's because during like the Trojan War, he was the first one to set foot on the land of Troy, and there's like this weird prophecy that was just like, okay, if you're the first one to do it, you're gonna die. So that's why he was named that. And so after he set foot on the island, he won a 1v4, but then lost a match to some guy named Hector. I mean, all these people have such cool names, and then he dies to a guy named Hector. It's kind of anticlimactic, if I'm being honest, but I mean, can't exactly rewrite Greek mythology in the 21st century, so I guess we're just gonna have to go through with it. But yeah, so I guess the most important part of this is the whole 1v4 thing. I mean, Techno has been repeatedly known to just yeet people with his PvP prowess, so I'd imagine that's probably another factor, although probably less relevant. I guess another factor, I feel like I might be picking at straws a little bit here, but so after Protesilaus' death, so a bunch of nymphs went to his grave and planted like these elm trees that would grow super tall, but like when they grew too tall and were able to see the land of Troy. If you went to the top of the tree, and if you could see the land of Troy, they were that tall, then at that point the trees would immediately wither and die, and the nymphs would just keep replanting them and stuff. But what's important is the whole withering and dying part, because Techno, I think, is the only person canonically reported to have used withers. I mean, obviously others have. I presume Awesome Dude has. I know for a fact Arid has, with all the beacons. But if we're talking canonically, Techno is the only one that's used them, and there's also a whole symbol of a wither in the back of the Syndicate, so I feel like that may be a factor, although that might just be grasping at straws. I guess those are the reasons why he picked the name Protesilaeus. I mean, it's just a theory, a game theory. Okay, I'll stop. Anyway, so the next one is the big man himself, Philza Minecraft. So Philza's nickname is Zephyrus, or Zephyrus, I think Techno pronounces it. I mean, these Greek names, my pronunciation isn't really gonna be the best, but whatever. I'll be saying Zephyrus, because I think it flows off the tongue a little better. But I feel like this one's a bit more obvious than, what's his name, Protesilaeus, because, I mean, Zephyrus, Zephyrus, I'm getting mixed up here, but they're the god of the west wind, I want to say? One of the winds. Another Greek god. And it's been noted that they were depicted with wings on their back, although sometimes budding wings, because he's also the god of spring or something. I think each of like the wind gods were supposed to be a season, and Zephyrus was the spring season. And I think those budding wings are a little bit indicative of potentially Philza eventually becoming able to fly, and also already being able to fly with, depending on which depiction of Zephyrus you use, like a flight and hit the state of his wings. That's pretty clear. Another factor, which is probably less important, I guess, is the fact that Zephyrus guided Odysseus on Odysseus' journeys. I'm not sure if he was already guiding Odysseus at this point, but something kind of interesting is that Odysseus and Protesilaeus were both on like the Trojan war thingy. In fact, Odysseus was actually the one to step first onto the land of Troy. But he wasn't retarded and actually like knew how like about the prophecy. I mean, they all knew about the prophecy, but Protesilaeus just didn't care. He knew about the prophecy and decided, you know what, I'm gonna throw my shield down, and I'm going to step on the shield first before I land. Which, I mean, that's kind of BM, kind of threw Protesilaeus to die. Like, I mean, we get it, Odysseus, you're the main hero, but that was kind of BM. I mean, real heroes gotta die for other people. So I guess Protesilaeus could be considered the real hero. Kind of a sacrifice, kind of destroyed by Odysseus, to be honest, but that's also not the most important detail of the story. But anyway, so Zephyrus was guiding Odysseus in his journeys. Could be a little bit symbolic of Philza guiding Technoblade and canonically like waking him up and making sure he's alive and stuff. So that could be another factor. But I think the last one's the most interesting. The last one is someone nicknamed Harpocrates. Harpo, I think. I think Techno called them Harpo or something. They did not show up, which is pretty apt, because if you actually look at who Harpocrates is, they're an Egyptian god of silence and secrets. And I think the fact that he's being kept secret from the audience is not a mistake from Techno. Pretty sure the whole naming them Harpocrates as a secret, and they're probably going to be revealed later, or not, is an intentional decision for Techno, for people like me that actually care enough to research these things. So with that obviously comes the question, like, who exactly is Harpo? So let's just quickly assume that it's actually an actual member and not like some symbolic member, and it's also a member on the Dream SMP currently. If that's the case, then I have a couple ideas of who it could be. The first one obviously is Callahan. I think people watching the stream, I think I saw it in the comments, people thinking it was going to be Callahan, because obviously Callahan doesn't speak, and he is the god of silence and secrets. So that would be pretty apt. The only problem with that is I feel like Callahan doesn't really fit the bill. And also having someone that straight up can't speak in your content is probably not the best decision. I don't think Callahan has really interacted with Techno in a like substantial way at all. Whereas I mean the other current members have sort of. I mean, he was on an MCC team with Niki. He's made a decent amount of content recently with Ranboo. Philza is obviously in the Sleepy Boys, so there's some connection there. One of my other guesses of who it could be is Awesome Dude. Awesome Dude obviously has a lot of secrets to do with keeping Dream in the prison and the security. He'd also be a really good ally for the Syndicate. Also doesn't seem to be super favorable towards any government. And also, when he's like living vicariously through Sam Nook, he's not really silent, but he's the closest thing to silent for any of the characters. Talking through beeps and boops, not even through like an actual mic. It's just beeps and boops. The last character that I think it could be is Puns. I know Puns kind of violates the whole problem with Callahan. That like I don't think they've really interacted in a substantial margin at this point. But I feel like Puns would actually be a really valuable member for the Syndicate to have, and I think after seeing Puns' performance at the end of the whole disc thing, I think Puns really deserves some more lore time. So maybe that's out of that. But yeah, so he has a bunch of secrets about his previous relationship with Dream and his mercenary thing, and he's also, I mean, canonically, he's really only had one major line. Like, he's really only had one major line, so he kind of fits the silent bill. He's not exactly the most talkative, but I feel like he would be a really useful resource for the people in the Syndicate to have. Pretty decent at PvP. He aligns himself with money, which is clearly not a government. I mean, he's not too different from Techno in that aspect. But yeah, so mind you, I think all three of these could be potential members for the Syndicate, but I think maybe Puns is not the most narratively consistent potential member, but I think it would be very interesting and also really nice for Puns to have some more lore areas. Although I think Awesome Dude is probably the more likely member. The most likely possibility is that it's either not a member at all, and they're just a symbolic member, or it's a member that hasn't come onto the Dream SMP yet, and they're going to be a new member for this arc. But yeah, so if you think it could be anyone else, make sure to leave your theories in the comments below. But that's it for this video. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this content. All it takes is a click and half a second. So if you can make that red button gray, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.